Let's start with a big question, one that gets right to the heart of a major high court case. Is marriage a financial investment? You know, a way to get a massive payday if it all goes wrong? Well, one woman in Accra demanded 50 million Ghana cedis from her husband in their divorce. So we're going to break down exactly what the court decided and why it's so important for all of us.
Welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the Quaye divorce. In this case, let me tell you, it really unpacks some crucial principles about property, about financial settlements, and about what marriage really means in the eyes of Ghanaian law.
So here's our roadmap. We'll look at the case itself, see how the court handled the welfare of the children, and then we'll untangle how they divided the property. Of course, we have to tackle that huge 50 million cedi question. Then we'll look at a really important piece of advice from the judge, and finally, wrap up with what this case teaches us all. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so the case is Mrs. JOANA QUAYE versus Richard NII ARMAH QUAYE, that's pronounced Quay. This was heard in the High Court in Accra, and the final judgment was handed down on the 20th of January 2023. Now this is where you really see the battle lines being drawn. Both the husband and wife agreed on just one thing. Their marriage from 2010 was over. But on everything else, worlds apart. Both of them wanted full custody of their 3 kids. Both wanted the 2 main houses. And while the wife was demanding a truly staggering 50 million cedis, the husband, well, he hadn't offered any lump sum payment at all. So the court's first job, and the most important one, was to figure out what was best for the 3 children caught in the middle. Let's see what orders the court made. Okay, so the court placed the children in the custody of their mother, Mrs. Quaye. This decision was guided by one single overriding principle: the best interest of the child. The father, Mr. Quaye, was given access every other weekend and for the first half of the school holidays. But crucially, the court ordered him to carry the financial load. He has to pay all the school fees, all educational costs, and cover all of their health needs. And on top of all that, he was ordered to pay 5,000 cedis a month for their upkeep.
All right, with the children's welfare settled, the court moved on to the very thorny issue of property. And the big question here is always, what actually belongs to the marriage and can be split up?
The law is very specific about this. A court can only share out what is legally called marital property. And that just means property that either the husband or the wife acquired during the marriage. This is a really important point because our Constitution also protects every individual's right to own separate property, even when they're married.
In this slide is a perfect example of how that principle works in practice. The court looked at 2 houses. The one in Dansamon, that was declared marital property. Why? Because it was bought during the marriage and it was the home where they lived together. The wife was awarded a 1/3 share of that house. But the East Legon house was a different story. The evidence showed it was the husband's separate property, with no intention of making it a joint asset. So it was settled entirely on him.
And it was the exact same principle for the vehicles. The court gave the wife 2 Jaguars, and the husband got the Mercedes-Benz. But see that Range Rover Velar? It wasn't distributed at all, because there just wasn't enough proof that it was marital property. If you are finding this useful, follow Lexox. We break down Ghanaian court decisions in plain language every week.
All right, let's get to the main event, the part of the case that got everyone talking, that incredible claim for a 50 million cedi financial settlement.
So let's just be very clear. Let that number sink in. The petitioner, Mrs. Quaye, was asking the court to order her ex-husband to pay her 50 million Ghana cedis. And this is what the court actually awarded her: 300,000 Ghana cedis. That massive gap between the ask and the award really makes you wonder why. Well, the answer is right here in this powerful quote from the judge, Justice Justin Kofi Dorgu. He didn't mince words. He called the 50 million cedi demand ridiculous and said it had no basis. He stated it very plainly: marriage is not an investment. The court's job isn't to create a lottery win, but to ensure a fair split of what was built together. The judge also said the final award was meant to send a clear message, to discourage people from thinking divorce is a get-rich-quick scheme.
Now, before he finished, the judge gave a very important piece of advice. It wasn't part of the final binding order, but it has huge legal significance. In law, we call this an obiter dictum.
So, an obiter dictum is basically a judge's thought or opinion on a matter that comes up in the case, but it's not the main reason for the final decision. And for the law students watching, remember, while it's not a binding precedent, it can be very influential in future cases. It's like a signpost showing where the court's thinking is headed.
The judge pointed out that Mrs. Quay felt she was a co-founder of her husband's business, Quick Credit. And his advice was this: if you believe you have a stake in a company, you can't sort that out in a divorce court. You have to file a completely separate lawsuit under company law. Simply put, a divorce court handles family matters, not business ownership disputes, even if the business partners happen to be married. That's a crucial line between family law and company law.
So, after going through all of that, what are the main lessons we can all take away from the Quay divorce judgment?
Here are 5 key takeaways. 1. When it comes to kids, their best interest is the #1 priority for the court, always. 2. Only proven marital property gets divided. Your separate assets are protected. 3. And this is the big headline: the courts do not see marriage as a business deal. 4. If you're asking for a large sum of money, you better come with solid proof to back it up. And finally, 5, if your fight is about a business, take it to a company law court, not a divorce court.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. In today's Ghana, where spouses contribute to a marriage in so many different ways, not just with money, does this judgment set a fair precedent for how finances should be settled when things end? It's definitely something worth discussing.
I really hope you found this breakdown helpful. For more explainers on Ghanaian court cases told in plain, simple language, please make sure you like, share, and follow us at LexAux on TikTok and GH Case Explainer on YouTube. We have many more cases coming your way. Thank you for your time.